Hi everyone. Welcome to today's Piece of Peace. In this season, um, in this season of God changing, shifting our attention to Him instead of the things that we've gone to, shifting our thoughts, shifting our behaviors, shifting our functionality from functioning in a way alone, on our own, with our own decisions, to including Him and what He might have for us that would be better than what we were doing or experiencing. And I'm not absolved to this. This is a season where He's starting to expose, even in my own life, some of the patterns that my wounds from my past have been affecting my present day. So I'm clinging to Him, and it's very humbling. But yet today He brings another thing to my mind as I'm starting to journal, in the morning. And sometimes when I come in, it's like He wants to deal with issues right away, so that I can set those aside with Him, so that I can fully receive from Him. Like some of those times that I talked in the past where our sinful nature has sort of been the shroud, and God's trying to pour a blessing on us and His love on us, but that whatever that is that we haven't released to Him yet is kind of blocking our receptivity to Him. Well, that happens to me too. So without shame, but with great humility, I get to bring some of the things that He's been revealing to me. So today I was addressing with Him, and just thank you for this new day. He started to process with me a functionality that I have where if I am offended, or if I have been hurt or betrayed or wounded by someone or a situation, I have a tendency to think in my head just sort of a judgment on that right away, what my belief of it is. And then in that, I rest in my belief as being, or my perception as being true. And sometimes, not just sometimes, but often, I will build sort of a self-protective wall around me in that situation or me in that person because of the pain that I've experienced. And I would self-righteously justify how I would behave because of that, or like distance myself, or not speak, or just say, I need time away, or whatever it is that the functionality that I'm doing. I've placed a judgment on something that holds the image of God. I've functioned in a way that partners with the enemy to build division, being in silence, or not speaking, or avoiding, or whatever it is that I'm doing. And He's starting to trudge this up and show me that it's not just one situation, but that there's a pattern to this. It's very humbling to speak about it. So I say to Him, and it's like a twofold thing. Like He sometimes has spoken to me and I've chosen not to listen. And in making my own decisions caused more of a mess than if I would have listened in the first place. And He says, Janelle, some of what you go after is not the best for you. He says, I have the best for you. Like Abraham and Sarah, this couple that God promised a child, but it didn't come for a very long time. They were very old, so they tried to make that happen in the Old Testament, and it made more of a mess having a child with one of His servants so that they could have a child. And so humans, when they put their own perspective into it, don't do such a great job as what God could do. So He says, like Abraham and Sarah, they tried to manage the best on their own, but only made things more painful. He says, if you wait on me, I will bring about the best for you. I am also very capable of turning what the enemy meant for evil and your own sinful choices into good. Keep handing me your pain. Keep inviting me into your pain. Don't try to correct it on your own or it will cause further pain. He says, we will walk through the fire together. We will walk through these waters together. These circumstances will not overtake you. They will not overtake you, for I am with you. I am your God, and you are mine. He says, trust me. And I just started to talk. I just said, then God, I hand you these painful situations and relationships, deeply pain-filled and uncertain. I'm sorry for trusting in man and not trusting in you. I'm sorry for not listening in the past and trying to move in my own. I need you to lift me above my circumstances, to cling to you as we walk through these fires and waters, and help me to trust you. He says, I will. And we go into devotion for the day. So I read out of Our Daily Bread again. Download the app or get the booklet delivered to you by going online. But we're in John 8:31 through 36. And the backdrop is Jesus speaking to some Jewish believers. And the devotion's titled Free Indeed, but we'll start with the scriptures. So to the Jews who had believed him, Jesus said, if you hold to my teaching, you are really my disciples. Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. But they answered him, we are Abraham's descendants, and I have never been slaves of anyone. How can you say that we shall be set free? Jesus replied, I tell you the truth. Everyone who sins is a slave to sin. Now a slave has no permanent place in the family, but a son belongs to it forever. So if the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed. I'm going to come back to that as we talk after the devotion. So Arthur Jackson has written this, and he says, the film Amistad tells the story of West African slaves in 1839, taking over the boat that was transporting them and killing the captain and some of the crew. Eventually, they were recaptured, imprisoned, and taken to trial. An unforgettable courtroom scene features Cinque, leader of the slaves, passionately pleading for freedom. 3 simple words, repeated with increasing force by a shackled man with broken English. Eventually silenced in the courtroom, he says, give us free. Justice was served and the men were freed. Most people today aren't in danger of being physically bound, yet true liberation from the spiritual bondage of sin remains elusive. The words of Jesus in John 8:36 offer sweet relief. So, if the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed. Jesus pointed to himself as the source of true emancipation because he offers forgiveness to anyone who believes in him. I want to say that again. Jesus pointed to himself as the source of true emancipation because he offers forgiveness to anyone who believes in him. Though some of Christ's audience claimed freedom, their words, attitudes, and actions regarding Jesus betrayed their claim. Jesus longs to hear those who would echo Cinque's plea and say, give me freedom. With compassion, he awaits the cries of those who are shackled by unbelief or fear or failure. Freedom is a matter of the heart. Such liberty is reserved for those who believe that Jesus is God's Son, who was sent to the world to break the power of sin's hold on us through his death and resurrection. The question Arthur ponders is, how has Jesus set you free? What can you share with others about God's liberating power? In the prayer, he says, Jesus, help me to believe that you can set me free. And as I pondered this, it wasn't as if when Jesus died on the cross to set us free, it's not as if we're not going to be tempted to sin or that we're not going to sin. So what God's exposing to me is like, this is sort of repetitive. But the difference is, are you going to partner with the enemy and continue the pattern of your sinful nature? Are you going to partner with Jesus and believe in what he's done for you so that you can find a different path to navigate through the same sin that you've repeated? So he doesn't want me to build this brick and this mortar. He wants me to bring this pain to him. That's what he says to me. Bring me your pain. Let's walk through the fire with it together. Let's walk through the waters with it together, because in the freedom you're going to find is that you're going to find a new way to navigate through it. Instead of having this ongoing repetitive way of functioning in your pain, you're going to have a new freedom where you can come to me, we can pierce through the darkness, and there'll be a much different outcome. Because if you're functioning and taking charge of it yourself, there's only more pain that's going to happen, like Abraham and Sarah, like you did in your past, where you were just going to build the brick and mortar, build the wall, function in your avoidance. It's not avoiding. He's like, press in to what's causing your sin reaction. What's happening that's having a sin reaction? Press into that with me, because we're going to go through this fire together. We're going to go through these waters together, and I'm going to bring you out in freedom on the other side. What in your life is God calling you to change from that functionality to inviting him in so that you have freedom because he died on the cross for you? He invites you in. That piece that I had repeated, Jesus pointed to himself as a source of true emancipation because he offers forgiveness to anyone who believes in him. I believe in him, and I want forgiveness, and I want a different functionality in this repetitive way of responding to betrayal. Painful, but good. So I bring us to Jesus Calling, Sarah Young. Download her app or buy her book. He says, when some basic need is lacking, time, energy, money, consider yourself blessed. Your very lack is an opportunity to latch onto me in unashamed dependence. It doesn't mean we're not going to sin again. It means that we have a new way to find freedom through it, instead of this repetitive death way that just breeds division and keeps us shackled in our sin. There's freedom. Your very lack is an opportunity to latch onto me in unashamed dependence. I need him. When you begin a day with inadequate resources, you must concentrate your efforts on the present moment. This is where you are meant to live, in the present. You're not beating yourself up from past sin. You're right here working on this one today with him to find freedom. It is this place where I always await you, the present. It is this place where he always awaits us. Awareness of your inadequacy is a rich blessing, training you to rely wholeheartedly on me. The truth is that self-sufficiency is a myth, perpetuated by pride and temporary success. I want to repeat that. The truth is that self-sufficiency is a myth, perpetuated by pride and temporary success. Health and wealth can disappear instantly, as can life itself. Rejoice in your insufficiency, knowing that my power is made perfect in weakness. There's today's piece of peace. Bless you.